Hello, I'm Kelly, and welcome to Kelly Loves Books and Movies. Today, I thought I would talk about my favorite books that I have read in the last so many years. Um, on Tik, this will seem to be a trend for a little while on Booktok, and I don't watch TikTok that much, so some of these were probably old and they were just popping up in my feed now. But it was people naming their favorite books for each year that they've been reading. Well, I can't do that because I've been reading since I was 4 or 5. So um, even like a lot of these people had only really started reading recently, so they only had whatever. So I am going to do a book or two from each year that I've actually started writing them down and keeping track. This is where I would have been keeping track. Um, I started keeping track in 2010. I don't know why I didn't do beforehand. Um, I think I started because I picked up a book that I read that I was reading, and I kept thinking, this sounds really familiar. Have I read this before? And I thought, well, if I had written it down, I'd know. And it did turn out to be a book I had read before. But anyway, so my favorite books for each year starting in 2010. 2010, I read 24 books that year. Some of these years I didn't read a lot. My favorite book of 2010 was The Bullpen Gospels. And it's basically a story it's nonfiction of a guy and his just journey from single A ball up to the majors. And he's a bullpen pitcher. Um, and I thought it was fascinating. A lot of people described it as a modern day ball four. If you know the book Ball Four, um, it kind of a modern day ball four. And I think I actually read Ball Four. I did. I read Ball Four in 2024, just before this one. Anyway, or 2024, 2010. All right, 2011. I read 33 books. My favorite of that year was called American Ground: Unbuilding the World Trade Center. Now, I am kind of fascinated with like emergency response and like logistics. So this to me was fascinating. It's basically the story of how they went from the World Trade Center falling down, and from that instant to getting it cleaned up, the site cleaned up, like unbuilding the World Trade Center. Anyway, I found it fascinating. Again, super fascinated by logistics. So that kind of was yeah, perfect for me. Let me see if there's anything else super notable. No. All right, 2012. All right, 2012. Now this isn't really one book, it's four, but it is a series, and they all fit together. It isn't like a consecutive series. It is, you can see that, the Alexandria Quartet. This was written I think these were written in the 60s, and they take place in the 40s in Alexandria, Egypt. Basically, it's a group of people. Some of them are rich businessmen. Some of them are just like civil servants. A whole wide range of people from different countries, and it's basically the same story told. The first three books are the same story told from different perspectives, basically. And then the last book is sort of a perspective on it's told from the future looking back at that time. So anyway, I actually love these so much, like I could pick one. But I haven't read them again since then, and after I got to the last one, like, and you see them all in the different different perspectives. I kind of want to go read them again, even though now it's been a while, so I don't know how much I'm going to remember completely, but like, yeah, because like the first book, you get perspective on this one character, and you're like, whoa. But then by the end, you're like, So, yeah, I love the Alexandria Quartet. And there's 4 books. They're pretty short. Definitely think if you're interested in like fiction, like stories from multiple perspectives, I think you should read this. All right, 2012, Alexandria Quartet. How many did I read there? Oh, whoa. 2012 was a big year for me. I read 46, 50 books. Wow, I think that's the most I read up until this year. That was probably my biggest reading year. What did I do in 2012 that I had read so much? Who knows? Anyway, 2013, my favorite. First of all, not so many. 22 books. My favorite, Kentucky Derby Dreams. And this follows a full crop of 13, I think the 2009 thoroughbred full crop, a handful of different foals from birth till their, oops, dropped my phone. From birth till their first 4 years of life, pretty close to it, and just the whole, their Kentucky Derby Dreams. I don't remember if any of them got to the Derby. I don't think so. But that may be a spoiler, but maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't remember. All right, 2014. This year I read 32 books. Did I miss something? No. 32 books. My favorite, My Week at the Blue Angel. This is a book about Las Vegas and the people of Las Vegas that aren't the high rollers. That's the everyday people who the author stays at the Blue Angel for, obviously, the title, My Week at the Blue Angel, but he talks to not only the people living there, the people that live in the tunnels, just a whole different, the lower level, the lower rung of class of people in Las Vegas. It's fascinating. I also have a little fondness for the Blue Angel Motel. I think, it's one of those that, and it no longer exists. I think I remember reading that like Drew Carey lived in the Blue Angel Motel when he was living in Vegas very, very, very early, trying to make it as a comedian. I could be wrong, but I don't know. The Blue Angel herself, I'll show a picture, is designed by Betty Willis, who also designed the Welcome to Las Vegas sign. And she's a fascinating character. Well, not necessarily a fascinating character, but just a lot of Las Vegas. She's a graphic designer, so you can see a lot of her work in Las Vegas, especially because, the Welcome to Las Vegas sign is in everything. So her design is in everything. Anyway, she designed the Blue Angel, the motel sign, and the angel. The angel and the sign were saved. They live just a little bit further down the street from where the Blue Angel actually used to be. I did take a visit to her when she was restored. Again, that was my picture. All right. 2015, I read 22 books. My favorite was Silver Screen Fiend by Patton Oswalt, and this is his sort of I wouldn't say it's an autobiography. It's just a couple years of his life where he was going to the New Beverly Cinema regularly for their double features, and all about, what he learned from the film, how it applied to his career, that sort of thing. And since I'm a movie nerd too, it was really good. 2016, I read 21 books. My favorite, A Man Called Ove, obviously. I can't remember. I read the book before I saw the movie, I think. The Swedish version of the movie, obviously. Um, yeah, you all have been talking about that a lot lately, and it was my favorite book in 2016. Although I do have an honorable mention. It is called The Big Roads. I am also very much interested in transportation. It's actually what I do. Besides Booktube, it's my real life jobs. So this was just a story of the interstate system from the very, 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 very beginnings of cars and all the way up to, the planning and construction of the Eisenhower interstate system. I love this book. It's probably not, it's pretty detailed at times. It's an engineer would probably be really thrilled. I'm not an engineer. I'm a money person. I don't know how that happened, but I'm a money person. But if you are an engineer, that might be super fascinating to you. Also, interesting enough, 2016 is when I started reading the Neapolitan novels, which I didn't pick that as my favorite book of 2016 because I only read the first one, My Brilliant Friend, that year, and then the rest were the next year. 2017, my favorite book was The Arm. It is by Jeff Passan, who's a baseball writer. Fascinating look at the importance of pitchers and $1 million arms, and he talked about the whole Tommy John process, and like from just the surgery itself, the recovery. It's just fascinating, following and talking to pitchers very young, like high school pitchers. Yeah, very interesting. And in 2017, it is noted, my honorable mention was when I started the Michael Connelly Harry Bosch series. Black Echo, I read in 2017, and obviously I love that series, and that's when it began for me. 2018. I only read 10 books in 2018. I don't know what was going on. Let me see. I think 3 of them were Harry Bosch novels. 3 of them. Yep. But my favorite, Medium Raw, Anthony Bourdain. It's Anthony Bourdain. Need I say more? Did I have it? No. Only 10 books that month. Must have been a bad year. 2019. I read 15 books. A little bit better. My favorite was Goldfinch. I just thought it was so far my first and only book, Donna Tartt book. I just really liked the story. It was my favorite that year. I don't know what else to say about it. 2020. They read 25 books, getting a little better. And my favorite was The Most Spectacular Restaurant in the World, a book about windows of the world in the World Trade Center, really from its beginnings, even as an idea, through, there's not so much about its unfortunate end, but again, logistics fascinate me. From the planning of the restaurant, even from the very beginning, and how it worked, and fine dining, it changed. It was a hugely influential on fine dining in New York. So, and anyway, fascinating. I noticed that a lot of my favorites, and actually have been nonfiction, and looking through my, I haven't read much nonfiction this year, but I used to read a lot of it. Guess that's a thing I need to pick up again. All right, 2021. Where the Water Goes. Another one of my fascinations is the Colorado River, and that's what this is about. Just following the whole, from its beginnings all the way through where the water goes, who gets what, how it was decided, the politics of Colorado River fascinate me. I don't understand why California gets so much of it. It doesn't even go through California. But you know, politics back in the day, they get all the water in Arizona because we have to irrigate alfalfa fields for Saudi Arabia, for the Middle East. But that's where a lot of the water goes. We should probably be rethinking that. I mean, most years it does not actually, there only a trickle winds up in the ocean. So, yeah, politics. 2020. Oh, I wanted to do a honorable mention for 2021. Another nonfiction, something I was not aware about, and it was absolutely fascinating. Deadly Times. It was about a bombing of the Los Angeles Times in 1910. I don't have it right in front of me, but I think sometimes we think we are like, that people are super violent today, like politically violent, you know, today, and we forget that lots of stuff happened way back in the day too. This was basically the Union was mad at the Times and hired a dude. A lot of this was hired by the Union, and not only here, but like in the Los Angeles Times. But the guy went and, you know, roughed up people, and you know, the dude was the muscle for the Union to try to, you know, get their way. Anyway, it was fascinating, and a reminder that, and we think political violence is new. It's not, obviously, in this country. 2022. I read 20 books. My favorite. Ooh, I got this one. Well, my favorite is one of. It's kind of a tie. The Late Show is my favorite. Well, it's not my favorite Harry Bosch novel, but it introduces us to Renee Ballard, whom I absolutely love. So it was very notable for this is the first book with Renee Ballard. The other book was my favorite, Starstruck, Leonard Maltin, again, movie nerd. My Unlikely Road to Hollywood, and it's basically all sorts of stories. I mean, even when he was a kid, because he started like a, well, he took over like this fan magazine when he was a kid. So he met and he got interviews with all these people, even as a kid. It's just fascinating, and he's got a lot of great stories, and so a lot of them are in this book. Sorry, that was my. All right, 2023, and this is the last year I'll do because it's still 2024. And if from last year from my last video, you probably have a good idea of what I'm going to pick for my favorite book of 2024. But it's really neck and neck between two. All right, 2023, Island on Fire. This is a book about a volcanic eruption in Iceland in 1783. And it also kind of talks about Iceland's volcano system in general. I read this before I went to Iceland last year, and it really was fascinating, and it put a lot of things in perspective as you're driving around, remembering what was in the book. So that was 2023, and I read 27 books in 2023, and 2024 is a mystery. Well, maybe not a mystery. I've already read 50-something books, so, yeah. Obviously, with Booktube, I'm reading a lot more, which is good. And those are my favorites over the last 13 years or so. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time.